Hey, it's Kid A. I know this is typically not the type of content I put on the channel, but as a concerned veteran of Post Scriptum, this has been a topic that's been bugging me for the past few months. And that is that Post Scriptum is running into a drought of new players. I think this is going to be irreversible in the near future. The release of Chapter 4 is unfortunately not going to sustain new players, and I would argue that no amount of new maps or assets will. We are already seeing a decline in which Postscriptum might go into its lowest player count yet. I don't mean to be the salty veteran saying that the game is going to die. In fact, the game will always have a dedicated player base, so no, the game is not going to die. But it is entirely possible that Postscriptum will just have a stagnant player base and move into obscurity. This video will cover some of the features of Postscriptum that, whether intentionally or not, is causing new players to leave. I will not be covering any performance-related issues or bugs. While they are serious issues, it's not something intentionally implemented to deter new players. The following are features in which I have observed to be causing the most problems for new players, as well as direct feedback I've gotten from new players I've been playing with recently. Before I continue, I just want to say that all of the issues that I mention in this video are of course just my opinion or things that I have observed. And of course the solutions I bring up are probably not the best solutions for Postscriptum, so please take everything with a grain of salt, and spare me in the comments. The first feature causing problems starts before you can even play the game. Server queues have been a long-standing issue for Postscriptum, and what makes the queue system most frustrating to me is that players would rather sit in a 20-stack queue when those same players could join a server with 30 players, jumpstart it, and have a full server within 20 minutes. Unfortunately, the mob mentality gets the best of us, and most players would rather stack up in queues to get into one or two of the full servers. Unfortunately, it means that new players will have to wait up to 30 minutes to join a game. That 30 minutes could be the difference in whether the new player refunds the game or not. As a solution, Postscriptum could implement some sort of quick play option as the default method to join servers instead of choosing which server to play on, and players would randomly join an active server. If that player were to be playing with friends, there should also be a way to create a party. This way players would be evenly distributed among servers. This is not a new idea, and most modern games already use this method and have been proven successful. To me, anything is better than having to sit for 30 minutes in a queue. At the moment, roles are assigned to players with the fastest computer and reflexes. Those who can click the role they want the fastest at the beginning of the match will get it. This can be frustrating to new players who want to try on new roles that are being hoarded by other players. I think many new players get bored of playing as a rifleman. I know some of you might say that rifleman is as good a role as any, but rifleman with a bolt-action primary weapon is still at an obvious disadvantage to a machine gunner or a sapper, especially to new players who aren't used to playing games with bolt-action rifles as the standard primary weapon. The best solution to role selection is to be aware as a veteran player of new players in your squad. If it's a free weekend or there's a sale, offer a role that you pick to a new player instead. It's up to us veterans to take one for the squad and stick to a rifleman when we know there are new players in the squad. Assuming that the new players are also communicating, lack of communication from the rest of the squad is very detrimental to a new player's ability to climb the learning curve. I'm calling out the squad leaders here. Squad leaders need to be communicating throughout the whole match. It's not enough just to place rally points. If you're going to create an infantry squad, make sure you understand that you are the determining factor of whether your squad mates are going to enjoy the match or not. There needs to be some sort of coordination or plan for a new player to follow. I think most new players would rather have a charismatic leader giving them a clear set of instructions to follow and then die 100 times over than to be left on their own to wander around the map. They also learn a lot more from those first 100 deaths with their squad leader than they would wandering the map and getting shot out of nowhere, which brings us to our next point. More often than not, a new player's experience of Postscriptum is as follows. Walk 200 meters to the point and get shot at out of nowhere. This is very frustrating and is probably the worst situation to be in as a new player. Unfortunately, every milsim is like this by nature. when you do not have the situational skills to play more effectively. If you are a new player watching this video, I want to give you some advice to avoid this kind of gameplay. First is to always avoid crossing open areas if possible. Use vegetation, buildings, or obstacles to move from one place to another, even if it means taking a little longer to get to your spot. Second is to make flanking maneuvers. Don't keep taking the same route when you know it's just a meat grinder. Third is to always stop, look, and listen. Learn what guns make which noises and determine where it is coming from. Always look for enemies in bushes and windows, and because the game is a one-shot, one-kill, you want to see the enemy first before they see you. And following these simple steps will make your gameplay 10 times better, I promise. The last issue new players have is knowing what exactly they should be doing. Most new players are coming from games that are oriented around the kill count. Their motivator is to get as many kills as possible and to be the most valuable player on the team. Post Scriptum, however, is not oriented around getting kills. It's about fulfilling your role, whatever that may be, and contributing to the success of your team. However, this abstract concept is hard to grasp with new players, and I often find them seeing their kill count at the end of the game and thinking that they contributed nothing to the team. I don't blame them, as Post Scriptum has not done a good job of keeping track of other stats that affect the course of the game since they redid the end screen. My solution would be to have a stats tracker for stats that are already tracked, plus others like time in the objective or amount of suppression given, to name a few. And this new stats tracker should also give you a placement in your team for each stat in real time to further motivate players to continue doing what they are good at. I mentioned earlier in the intro that the drought of new players is going to be irreversible in the near future. What I mean by that is that the ratio of new players to veteran players is going to be so low that we are going to have an issue where any new players that do try to play will be utterly stomped by the resident veteran community. This will cause a downward cycle in which new players join, get stomped, and never play again, as the player base continues to dwindle in size. It's hard to see my favorite game move into obscurity because we fail to address the issues mentioned above. Of course, that's just my opinion. If you are a new player, I invite you to comment down below some of the issues you have come across. Thanks for bearing with me in this discussion, and thanks for watching.